Every community has those people who make an impact far beyond the walls of their workplace. And in Dewey Beach, that person is Lauren Kelley. Lauren is the manager at the Dewey Beach Surf Shop, and hands down, she has the best customer service you'll ever experience. I first met Lauren during the COVID era when the world felt heavy and uncertain, and there in the middle of it all was her professionalism and positivity that stood out. And it was unforgettable for me. And from that moment on, I've been a longtime supporter and fan of Dewey Beach Surf Shop, not just because of the store itself, but because of the energy and care Lauren brings to every single person who walks through those doors. In this episode of Kumite Lifestyle, Lauren shares her journey, the values that drive her, and what it takes to keep a community thriving even through challenging times. Her story is a reminder that leadership, kindness, and service can inspire just as much as competition in sport. So buckle up, because this conversation is more than just about a surf shop. It's about people, community, and the power of showing up with excellence in every single day. Let's dive in with Lauren Kelley. All right, guys, welcome back to the episode of the Kumite Lifestyle. Today, we are joined with Lauren Kelley, and one of the reasons why I want to bring Lauren on is because I feel she has the best customer service in the industry, and we'll kind of deep dive into what she does specifically. But Lauren, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, and thanks for the compliment. I'm really excited to be here today.
Absolutely. So let's just kind of dive there. So Lauren, for anyone that doesn't know, she is the manager at the Dewey Beach Surf Shop. But let's be real, we know, she low key owns that place. Um, but no, she does a tremendous job. And if you're not familiar with the Dewey Beach area, it's a town in Delaware. It's a nice little beach town, and one of the main spots that you should visit is the Dewey Beach Surf Shop. And the cool thing, it's right in the beginning of town. So, Lauren, how long have you been working with the Dewey Beach Surf Shop?
I have been there for, I think this was my eighth summer.
That's crazy.
I'm approaching the 10-year mark, which is crazy. Yeah, I started pretty shortly after I graduated high school at Dewey Beach Surf Shop, and I worked there throughout my college years. And it was kind of always a plan that it was going to be my, college job and kind of help boost my resume, because I studied digital communications and social media marketing.
Yeah.
And so that was a lot of what I did at the surf shop. But here I am years later, graduated college, still there. Yeah, and I love it. I wear a lot of hats at the surf shop. Like you said, I'm the manager, but I do everything customer service. I do all the ordering. I track all the inventory. I ship the online orders. I do the event planning for our bonfire services. So I wear a lot of hats. There's a lot that comes along with being the manager at the surf shop.
Yeah, and I don't think people really understand what all that entails, because when you walk into the surf shop, I mean, like, we see all the great presentation that you have for the store, and then of course we see you, but I think most people don't realize the hard work that goes, into running a business. And I love how you said wearing different hats, because that's, essentially what, like, yeah, like, I feel that's what you're doing all the time there. And so let's backtrack. So you said you started in high school. So how did that come up? Was that, working at the surf shop? Was that just an opportunity that presented itself? Or you're like, you know what? I want to go to the Dewey Beach Surf Shop and I want to work there.
It was shortly after high school. I started working at a record store in Rehoboth called Superkind,
Yeah.
and they ended up closing down shortly after I started working there and switching locations. This new location was right next to the Dewey Beach Surf Shop in Dewey.
Nice.
I continued working at Superkind, but the transition from Rehoboth to Dewey just wasn't a smart choice for us. And I felt the business kind of taking a slow decline, as did the owner. And we started taking away some of my hours, and that was not good for me. At the same time, Tyler, the owner of the surf shop next door, was struggling to find employees to work. So I said, as long as you don't care that I'm working, right next door, I'm happy to work at Superkind during the day and then come work at Dewey Beach Surf Shop at night or whatever. And we worked that out for about a year. I did the double time, switching back and forth. And then unfortunately, Superkind did make its close in Dewey Beach, probably about a year after I was there. And then I went full-time surf shop, and the rest is history.
Yeah, and the surf shop has a pretty cool history as well because it wasn't originally called the Dewey Beach Surf Shop. And that's something that I didn't know because I think I've been visiting the surf shop now for the last few summers. It was during
Yeah.
COVID because
Mhm.
I was never really a big Dewey guy myself. One of my exes at the time, she like lives down at the beach, and I mean, everyone talks about Dewey Beach, just the vibes, but I was never really big into like the party scene, thankfully. But I've always been big into surfing, so I was like, man, I had no idea that this place existed. And when I walked in, it was you and Tyler. And I was just blown away about how like the store looked and yeah, just the customer service and how well you presented yourself. And I think that has really paid off because, I mean, I'm a loyal customer, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on specifically was just to really showcase, like, man, like if you do all the right things and you treat people right, it really does pay off in the long run. So you mentioned Tyler. So I know he's the owner.
Mhm.
Um, so how did he become the owner and where does that kind of fall into place? Because I see you more at the surf shop than I see him. So what was the conversation that was had to say, hey, Lauren, you know what? I think you're ready to kind of step up. Like that I kind of had just happened by accident or design. Like what was the thought process to go there? Because I don't run a business myself, but I'm here all the time at where I work. So when my boss Howard is always on the road, like I'm like you, I wear so many different hats, but I feel like it's happened organically, and this is what I love to do. So I feel that's the same for you as well.
Yeah, it did happen organically. I was kind of thrown into Dewey Beach Surf Shop, and um, he kind of told me, this is how the system works. Here's the barcode scanner. Everything has a barcode. Beep beep. Call me if you need anything. And I still remember my first day. I was nervous because it was obviously a very different job from Superkind, which was the record store, and going from that to like full retail was definitely different for me. So I started by exploring the products. I felt like it was really important for me to know what I was, selling. And then I also thought, I should probably be wearing this merchandise while I'm working. And those were two things that Tyler never told me to do and was never like, required of me, but it was
Yeah,
just something that I took upon myself to do.
I love it.
And that's kind of how a lot of things happened with the surf shop. Once things started slowing down during my first summer, I realized that with our system, we had the opportunity to have an online store. At the time, I don't believe our online store was even like posted and running. But that first year, I said to Tyler, hey, I would love to help create this online store and put the products online and then ship them. And then that was like the whole beginning of our, online store journey. And a lot of people do order online. And that's kind of how I started taking more responsibility with the surf shop. And I think he realized, hey, this girl's really taking initiative.
Yeah.
And, I was rewarded, over time with like little bonuses or just like the commendation of like, wow, you're doing a really good job, thank you so much, means so much when you are just starting out somewhere and you're trying to learn how to do the job.
Yeah.
um, and then the next summer I kind of stepped into the role of manager because Tyler was comfortable enough to just leave me at the shop and have me handle everything. Of course, he's always, watching me on his cameras on his phone. He would send me pictures of myself talking to customers and stuff like that. So he's always watching. But having that confidence and knowing that I was trusted and respected enough to run the store, it also helped give me that confidence too, because who doesn't want to have their own store and feel like they're, running the show? I think that's, for me, that's a dream. Being able to have all of that there for you, but not necessarily like being the owner and having all of that on your shoulders.
Yes, absolutely. And I can resonate with that, 1,000% because I'm in the, same boat. And it is nice to feel appreciated for sure because I feel with yourself like you had an idea and you kind of just dumped with it. And I feel like you're a go-getter, just from the start. So, Tyler's very lucky to have you. And I've said that. And I believe anyone that comes in, like, to the store, can also believe that too. And it's really paid off because what I think with the last 2 years, the surf shop has gotten the best surf shop in Delaware, right?
3 years, yeah,
3
last
years.
3 years.
Yeah, so that's awesome. So, yeah, so kind of take us there. What has to go in to become the best surf shop in Delaware? Because I'm not educated enough on that because I know Delaware has quite a few, but obviously not to the standard, as the Dewey Beach Surf Shop. But yeah, walk us
So
through that.
the Best of Delaware award that we've won the past 3 years is through Delaware Today magazine, which is a very popular publishing magazine, website, blog. They have all kinds of stuff.
Sure.
And they have a lot of monthly readers and monthly subscribers. And I believe that the monthly readers and subscribers are the ones that nominate the stores for each category. There's categories for surf shops, there's bookstores, bike stores. They do beauty. So there's, estheticians and nail salons and hair salons. There's hundreds of different categories to be voted for. And we are under the retail and lifestyle category for surf shop. Um, and so we don't have a ton of competition in the Dewey Beach area. There's a couple of other little surf shops, but most of our competition is going to be like Bethany, Fenwick, Rehoboth. And 3 years ago, I believe it was, I got an email from Delaware Today that said, "Hey, you have just been nominated for the Best of Delaware Award. You haven't won yet, but you got the most votes. So now you're in the elimination round."
So basically, you
And
guys won. I think that's what they were
yeah,
trying to say.
yeah. So once we were in the elimination round, we were able to advertise, "Hey, thanks for voting. There's one more round. If you want to vote for us, we'll get it in the bag." And I think we were up against, Quiet Storm, Bethany Surf Shop, those other big names. And I think that our bonfire services really, really helped to drive the traffic to that website and get the votes and kind of get Dewey Beach Surf Shop that number one award. We do full service bonfires on the beach where we get the permit for you and we do all the setup and the cleanup, so you can literally walk down onto the beach, have a bonfire with your friends and family, and not have to do any of the manual labor. That's a huge part of our business that has become really popular. And like I said, I just think that a lot of that traffic has, a lot of people were really interested in our service, and that kind of helped us with winning the last couple years.
Yeah, and that reminds me of a quote too. Like, people will do what people like them are doing. So, and I know how you mentioned like, you wearing the merchandise at the store and I'm sure that's helped too because, when ladies especially walk in and they see you wearing like the new outfits or the new like
Like,
with new arrivals, it's like, okay, cool. Like I can wear that because I see you wearing it. And same thing with the like, gentlemen too, because you guys have such an awesome array of different shirts and products and hats and stuff. And the thing that I like about the surf shop, and I think I saw it on your social media, is you guys also travel, right? Because you guys have been invited to like different events outside of the state too.
mhm.
So was that ever part of the plan, or is that just like that kind of just
that
fall into
was
your lap as well?
that was never part of the plan. So again, like 3 years ago, after that Best of Delaware award, I got an email from Surf Expo, which is a huge, huge surf convention in
Yep.
Orlando, Florida,
Yep.
for retail buyers and vendors to go and network and find new brands and make new connections. So I pitched to Tyler, "Hey, I think we should go down to this surf convention and essentially look for new brands to come bring into the surf shop, network, and meet all these people that we've been emailing with over the years. All of our vendors that we've known forever. We can finally go meet them, in an environment that makes sense."
Yeah.
And we hopped on a plane, went down to Orlando, and it's a 3-day convention. And you walk in, and it's the biggest convention center you've ever seen in your life, especially for someone from Sussex County. It was just over the top.
Yeah.
They have everything from beach towels to beach chairs to souvenirs to bathing suits to surfboards, paddle boards, shoes, artwork, like literally anything that you could think of in a beach convenience store or a surf shop. They are trying to sell and advertise at this event.
Nice.
Really great because this was the first time that I was able to really touch and feel merchandise and see it with my own eyes before placing an order. Prior to going to a convention like this, I just relied on, videos that were sent to me of people modeling the items or just pictures in a catalog. And there were some times over the years where products would come in and I would be really disappointed with how they actually look and feel in person. So this going to this convention was a huge, a huge opportunity for us. We were able to find some brands and that we've stayed connected with over the years. I actually just got back from Surf Expo a couple of weeks ago, my third expo.
Yeah.
It's so fun to walk in and just people recognize you. They know you. Oh my gosh, hey, you came to my booth last year. Let's network. Let's go to the fashion show together. They've got fashion shows and they've got like meetings that you can go to, how to be a better manager, how to merchandise your store better, all kinds of, great networking opportunities.
That's awesome. And it's really taken off because it's allowed you, like you said, like you get to see the merchandise firsthand, which I don't like, I never even like, consider that myself. I mean, I don't run a clothing brand store, but I feel like that's definitely something that anyone that's, runs apparel should definitely do that. So for anyone watching that, that's definitely a good recommendation. That's pretty cool. So you've been running the surf shop now for a while, and do you feel like, I hate to say like your calling, because I know you went to college
Mm-hmm.
and well actually let's go there. What did you go to college for and how has that kind of helped with where you are with the surf shop? Or maybe it hasn't. Like maybe it's two different things, but where you are right now in your life, would you have imagined that maybe 5 years ago or maybe 2 years ago?
So I've always had a really hard time envisioning the future for myself. To
Yeah,
be frank, in college,
I think we all do.
when we would do those, 5-year plan, 3-year plan, I don't know. I have a hard time figuring out what I'm going to do tomorrow or next week.
Yeah.
Um, but I would say college did help me a lot with the social media aspect of Dewey Beach Surf Shop, learning about just like the insights and the analytics, the backdoor stuff behind social media that you don't get if you're just a general user. If you have, business pages, you get all kinds of crazy analytics. You can see what time people come to your page, where they're from, how old they are, if they're
Mm.
male or female. And you can use that to then influence the media and the content that you're creating. And so that was really helpful learning about all that in college and then being able to put that into the surf shop. I also did a lot of writing in college, which helped me just again with being able to communicate digitally online. I think it's really important that you use proper grammar. You spell everything correctly, and
I'm so sorry. I
it's
know.
okay. As soon as I started talking about that, I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, I don't want him to think I'm making a dig at him.
No, no, no. And guys, the reason why we're saying that is because just a little off topic. So yesterday I was making a post for the Kumite lifestyle and again, like, just learning the whole media thing because this whole platform has been exciting. It's just because like I don't have to do this. I get to do this. So I'm just trying to educate myself. So I made this poster yesterday for those watching and I had Lauren's name spelled originally correct. So like I know how to spell her name. So Lauren. But for some reason, like after I finalized everything, because I had to go back, it spelled your name the other version. So I texted Lauren and said, "Look, I owe you an apology." So I'm so
All
sorry
good.
about
I'm
that.
surprised it wasn't my last name. Usually it's my last name.
Well, things I always double check. So I always make sure that things are spelled correctly for the most part, especially here from a business sense. But after I posted it, I'm thinking, all right, everything looks good. I said, crap, like her name is spelled correctly. But I said to myself, well, it is Lauren. But I said, no, because someone's going to look at that and be thinking, bro, like, I don't think you spelled that name correctly. And actually, my friend reached out and said, yeah, I don't think that's how she spells her name. And I looked and then I reached out to you thinking, things I have to tell her first. So
No worries. No worries.
after this is posted, your name will be spelled correctly for sure. But yeah, like social media, just the media is so important with business. And that's something that I've learned over the past couple of months, just learning like how to make videos. Audio is pretty incredible and like, subtitles. I never really thought to add subtitles because thankfully I can hear, but that's what people like to see now because I can like sometimes I'll watch movies with friends and they always want subtitles on. I'm thinking, why do you want to know what's being said before it's actually being spoken? But I guess some people like that. So it's giving the people, like you said, what they want.
It's more accessibility too.
For sure.
So it opens up your content to another group of people. So yeah, like you said, I always try and put captions. And it's nice that I know at least TikTok, when you post videos, it prompts you, says,
Yeah.
hey, get more views if you put captions,
Yep.
which I think is great. Because whether they did that for an accessibility standpoint or just because they want more people on their app and consuming their content, I think that's great because,
Yeah.
imagine how you would feel as a blind person and to know that an app that you love to use is then prompting people, hey, make it easier for people to view your content or understand your content. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm a very empathetic person, so that is a big deal to me.
For sure. Yeah. And I think, yeah, it's just important to know. And I think if you're kind of in a similar boat and you're kind of like, I don't know, learning about business and social media and more just promotion for your brand, it's definitely doing your homework because I mean, it's just, it's so fast paced, I mean, podcast itself has taken off so fast since COVID, and
Well, and video content, you know, over the years, I've learned does infinitely better online than photo content does.
so
I
true.
will, I will
So
post,
true.
I will post a carousel of photos that I think are chef's kiss. They are, fabulous. They're advertising our product so well.
Yeah.
We'll get 10 likes, but the views will be there. People are seeing it. They're just not liking the content. But then
Yeah.
when you make a video
Oh my
and you're
goodness.
oh my goodness, you get all these
Yeah.
comments all of a sudden, you get all these likes and all these views. And I do think that it's the algorithm that's pushing, the video content farther. So
Yeah.
that's something that I started doing this year. Specifically, I think in May, I really noticed that my photo content was not performing at all.
Mm,
I said, you know what? I need to start web, even if I'm just doing like a flat lay of t-shirts on the ground. As long as it's a video and it's like 6 seconds long, it's going to do better than just a picture.
yeah.
And now I've branched out into, TikTok and Reels, and I make videos advertising our product, in a, Tyler would say, in a QVC style, where I hold the product up and I say, hey, this is our hat. This is what it looks like.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
what the back looks like. And while, that is laughable and it feels silly for some people, it's so helpful for other people that don't get to come to the shop and see that stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so that content has been performing well. And then, of course, I do like silly videos and stuff. If there's a trending audio on TikTok, I'll make a silly video for that. And, whether that helps the content or it's just kind of keeping us stagnant, I think that it's good that there's some personality behind the page.
For sure. And again, like if you're not like if you're in a position where you are making videos, whether for promotional or fun, if you're not doing the research, because I like how you said like you'll see a trend or a video, because I think that's what all videos I think that's what all performers are doing. They're emulating something that they've seen that works, for that person, and then they're trying to make it their own. So no, I think that's cool that you guys have done that. And you're so right about videos. I don't know what it is because I would get so discouraged because I would make a post for the academy or even just myself, and I would put like, I mean, sometimes I put like hours into it, and it sucks when you post something. You're like, all right, this is going to like, I'm not looking to hit the jackpot by no means, but I'm like, all right, this is gonna get something, and then you have like so little to show for it. But
So
yeah,
little and no engagement.
yeah, but the videos really have taken off though, for sure. That's awesome. So now I want to talk about Dewey Beach itself, right? So I feel like the surf shop is definitely one of the heartbeats of the town. But if you had to describe Dewey Beach, maybe in a sentence, like the lifestyle, like how would you define it? Because you're there more than I am. And like I said, Lauren, like you are the Dewey Beach Surf Shop. And anytime I go out in public, especially in town, like I see people always repping the gear. So like how would you define like Dewey Beach itself? And
I
then
don't know if
let's
I can get it down to a sentence,
yeah,
but
it is
um,
tough. Okay, maybe a
it's
couple sentences.
it's a small community, um,
Very small.
very small community, especially in the off season when we don't have the influx of tourists coming to town. It's a very small community with a lot of life and heart.
Yeah.
Um, there's no place like it.
Yeah.
There's no place where you can just walk a mile and have bars and restaurants and stores and the beach. Um, we have great live music. Our community comes together when we need each other and we
Mm-hmm.
support each other.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's a very special place. It has its pros and cons,
Yeah.
uh, as everything does. With being a small town, there's a lot of chitter chatter and drama here and there, but I would say this town is very unique, very special. We have a lot of community events.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love this community, and Dewey Beach Surf Shop, like you said, is definitely like a heartbeat of the community.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, it is for sure. For sure. And I mean, like I said, you guys have done a tremendous job at that. And yeah, like you said, like it's such a small town where everyone knows everyone. But I think like when you mentioned about like the drama and stuff like that, it's very natural because that's, as humans, like I feel like it's weird to say, but humans love distress, unfortunately, But it's how you choose, like, what you do with your time, of course. But, it is kind of all packaged into that. And you said about like how the community came together. I didn't realize how powerful just that community was until a couple years ago when Tyler had his incident, and just seeing like what you did and seeing what Maddie did and like all the people in the town itself. I was just blown away. And I'm sure you were too, or maybe you weren't, maybe at the level that I am, but I just thought how
totally was
great,
blown away.
really.
Totally was blown away. I learned a lot about this community and about myself. And just to give the viewers a little bit of insight, the owner, my boss, Tyler, was hit by a drunk driver riding his moped um, 3 or 4 years ago now.
Yeah,
And it was an extremely life-threatening event. He was in the hospital for quite a long time, did not have a good prognosis, and was not awake for a while either. So I took the initiative to just keep the surf shop open and make sure that the sales were still flowing in, because I felt like that was all I could do at the moment. I felt very helpless. Tyler and I, over the years, have become like family.
sure.
Um, I shortly after I started at the surf shop, I also started babysitting and then like nannying for him. I would, watch his kid constantly, 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 and so we became very close, like family. So the whole incident was very, very tough to deal with, but I knew that I was doing the best thing I could possibly do, which was just being at work. I knew that is what Tyler would want. He would want me to continue to work and not worry. And the store ended up emptying out completely because of all the support from the community, which again, I didn't expect. There was literally no merchandise for people to buy. People were coming in trying to support, and I had nothing for them. I had no stickers. I had nothing small. It was just surfboards at one point.
Yeah,
Um, it was a very, very, overwhelming show of support for the surf shop. And every day people were coming in and, giving me flowers. And, I remember you brought me,
yeah,
stuff for the
yeah,
holidays. People were just bringing stuff, for his family and bringing letters. And I had letters being written to the surf shop to me saying like, wow, it's amazing that you're doing all this in spite of the owner, being down. And, even just thinking about all of this right now, it's bringing all the memories back. I mean, the amount of people that just wanted
sure.
to help so badly. We had a local guy, Big Mike. He got a bunch of stickers made that said, watch for scooters. And he came in and he just handed them to me and was like, I got these made. I want you to sell them. And whatever profit you make goes to the surf shop.
Yeah,
And the amount of people that did that was just astonishing. I mean, we had business owners coming in and buying 25, 30 t-shirts and hats for their staff to wear that night to work, so that they could post a picture and post on their social media and show support. There was multiple fundraisers that were hosted by just local families and local people who wanted to help.
yeah,
So it was a huge show of community. And there's been plenty of other unfortunate tragedies that have happened over the years where people have come together again.
yeah,
And it really is unfortunate that, we come together for these, negative negative
Yeah.
thing, but um, it does show how strong the community, can be, and if we all support each other.
Yeah, for sure. And I thank you for being, vulnerable and, very authentic with that because I didn't realize how in depth, the community involvement was. I remember coming into the surf shop and there was that huge poster and there was like a million signatures.
Yeah.
And so flash forward, so my relationship with Tyler is obviously a little bit different than what you guys have. But I've done a couple of jujitsu lessons and just being able to share my passion with others. And I was just stoked that he was interested in doing it. And the thing about Tyler, and I mean, again, this is just from my own perspective. It's like anytime I've hung out with him, it's like he gives 1,000% in the moment. He's just a very nice guy, and like not that I was shocked because I mean I've been around great people just in this industry, and like I guess you could call them like I guess not elite people, but people that have been doing this for a long time. And that's something that I've kind of struggled with, It's just like, all right, it's like I know I'm good at what I do. I always seek to be better, but when I'm around like business owners or people that, quote unquote on paper could be a little bit higher in status, I always get blown away by like just how nice they are. And like Tyler was that guy, and I remember being at, different, restaurants that you're talking about, and he'd see me be like, "Hey Nick, come here over here." And he'd offer to buy me a drink and we've even like, hung out a couple times. But it goes back to just who you guys are as people. And like honestly, Lauren, I'm not at all surprised about how much the community came together after what you're saying. And I think it really changed Tyler's perspective on a lot of things, just even in conversations. He's very just very thankful, He just like lives in that great I'm sorry, state of gratitude.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's it's hard for him to even conceptualize everything, because I mean, he suffered a traumatic brain injury, so he was not all there, until months after his accident. There was even times where we would have conversations and days would go by, and then I would bring up the conversation again, and no recollection. He's totally fine now,
Hmm.
but it was definitely a tough time
Yeah.
for a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, but you were like, as you said, like you were just resilient. You just kept going. And I'm sure there had to be moments when you were like, I can't do this, but you decided, right, to keep going.
You know, I remember a couple days after the accident, my mom came to me and said, "I think you should take a day off and like relax," because I was clearly going through a traumatic, you know, instance as well. I was getting updates from his family and, having to be the face of the business and just taking on a lot,
Yeah.
working 11 hours a day. But I'm such a workaholic. I did not take that time off. I stayed and I worked. And the last thing I wanted was for anyone to think that something was going to happen to the surf shop, because I knew that at his core, Tyler didn't want the surf shop to be sold or, to go away in any instance. Because there were some people that came to me and said, "Hey, I'll take this out from under you and take this responsibility from you," and yeah. And so I had to kind of toughen up and be Tyler's representative and be like, "No, I
Yeah.
know that Tyler would want me to do this, and I know that he would not want someone else to have their hands in this."
Yeah, for sure.
Um, even now, I'm sure if we talked about it, he would be like, "Yes, you did the right thing by not letting other people get involved, get a
Yeah.
piece of the pie."
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, because it's like the domino effect, because like that could
Not,
have happened, but life would be so much different for you guys.
mhm,
So,
yeah.
during the busy seasons, right? Because I know, like, summer just passed, and I know how packed, like, Dewey Beach gets. And I've been to the surf shop when there's a lot of people in there, which is great for traffic, of course. But in the summer months, right? Explain a typical day for you. Like, I know you manage a surf shop and you have other things going on in your life, but like, how do you find balance, Lauren? Because, like I said, anytime I see you, it's always been at the surf shop. And we've kind of talked about a little bit in person, but I know. like I know what you do at the surf shop and how much like your presence is appreciated there, both from Tyler and the consumer base, but like what's your schedule like? So like how do you find time for for Lauren, you know what I mean?
So, to be honest, I do have a hard time doing that, finding time for myself. Like I said a few minutes ago, I am a workaholic. I function best when I've got a lot of stuff to do and a lot on my plate. But a typical day in the summertime for me, I work 10 to 4, and then I get off work and I go across the street to the Dewey Beach Exxon,
Yeah.
which my boyfriend owns.
Yep.
And I hang out in the backyard back there in like at a picnic table, and I hang back there and read a book, listen to music, relax. And that's kind of how I balance my life. I I go from Dewey Beach Surf Shop to right across the street, and then I go home, and then I do it all over again the next day. That's kind of how my life looks, because
Yeah.
to be honest, when the surf shop is open, I don't love to be like far away at home. I know
Sure.
that sounds bad, but I just like to be close because more often than not, I'm needed to run over and go do something over there, or I'm needed on the phone by an employee that's working, or Tyler needs help with a bonfire. So I like to stay in town. I do live a little bit outside of town, but it's nice to be able to have the property at the Exxon to hang out over there and be close.
Yeah.
In the summertime, though, a typical day, I'm walking up to the surf shop at 9:55, and there's a crowd of people sitting outside waiting for me. So I have to kindly and politely say, "Hey guys, we're opening in just a few minutes. Let me get in the door, turn the lights on." Usually people are trying to follow you in the door.
hmm
And you've got to be like, "Hey, just a couple minutes, please. Let me turn the lights on."
Yeah.
Uh, and then, the craziness starts. We are typically pretty busy from 10 to 4. And then from 4 to 6 is that like dinner rush. And then after that, it's always up in the air whether we're going to do business or not, because Dewey Beach is such a party town. And most of the people that are walking by are going to the bars, and they don't want to have something, have a bag of clothes with them or something. We
Yeah.
do make a decent amount of sales in hats in the evenings, like when guys
Oh
are
yeah.
walking, or they'll come grab a hat, or like if it's getting chilly, we'll sell a sweatshirt or two
Oh yeah.
uh, in the evening. But I would say a majority of our business, especially in the summertime, is going to be like that 10 to 4 mark.
For sure. And I know in the past when I've come in, probably the last summer, I've noticed other employees there. And I love how you mentioned like you never want to be too far away from home or the surf shop. And I mean, how dope is it that you can just walk across the street and see your boyfriend? So I think it's kind of like a nice package deal. Now, as the manager, do you find it tough in the beginning, or maybe you still do, to kind of not hand over the reins, but when you're not there and you have another employee, do you kind of not worry so much for them, or maybe you do, but you kind of worry like, okay, the surf shop's not going to run the way that I would do it, but at some point you kind of have to trust the people that you guys bring in. So from a management position, what has that been like when you hire someone new? So actually, what is the hiring process like? So let's say I was interested in working there. Like, what are some key, I guess, characteristics that you look for in a person that you want representing the surf shop?
So I typically have had people email us in like the springtime, which is when we start like reopening for the season. And honestly, I look for grammar issues. If you send me an email and there's a bunch of typos in it,
That's a red
I don't
flag.
know. It's a red flag for me.
Yeah.
It is. So that's something that there was like 3 or 4 different people that had, inquired and applied, but they had so many, they couldn't write an email, and they were like 18 or 19 years old. And I didn't have confidence in
Bro, it's this
exploring them
it's this
further
generation.
if they couldn't do that.
This generation is
So,
terrible. But
yeah.
that's a wholly, I'm sorry, that's a totally different topic. But
So that is something that I look for. I look for prior experience in retail, which is obviously a plus.
sure.
And I look for obviously any prior experience in any kind of customer service.
Yeah.
Um, I- Over the years, I haven't had a ton of people come to me from retail jobs. It's been like servers that want, a second job that's more low key, or someone that's worked I had someone that worked at a grocery store. I had somebody that worked at like a reception desk at a dance studio. So they know how to talk to people. It's just that I need to, help them work in the retail space of a surf shop.
Sure.
Um, I always say to my employees, if somebody comes in and they say they need an outfit, you should be able to come out from behind the counter and help them find an outfit, find what they're looking for. They say they need a white t-shirt. You should know where the white t-shirt is because you should know what's in the store. The store's not very big, so I always want my employees to know what's in stock so that they can accurately help people.
I love it. Yeah, just knowing the business, knowing the store itself, and also hand
Yeah.
selecting the the right employees because that in itself can be a challenge because it's hard to trust people these days, unfortunately, and just I mean, I remember one time I was in the store, and I think someone had just stolen something, or maybe they attempted to. So, and you were there, and so you kind of had it all like figure it out, of course. And you guys, yeah, I think eventually you guys got the merchandise back because of the camera system. But I wonder, when you're not there and you have someone brand new, it's like, man, like how do they deal with the tough issues like that,
Yeah.
Because anyone can say
I,
like, I'm sorry.
no, go ahead. Sorry, I just said go ahead.
No, you're good. No, no, you're good. No, because like anyone on paper can be like, yeah, I'm a good worker. I'll do that, this or that. But how do you know though? And sometimes you don't until they're actually like, put in that position. So
So I will say my employees have always asked me, like, okay, so what do I do in the situation if someone's stealing?
yeah,
And it is hard. It is hard to you know, explain to people what to do, especially if they're not confident. I have worked at the surf shop for a long time. I'm 27 years old. Most of the people that are going to be stealing are going to be much younger than me. So I feel confident in saying, hey, what are you doing? Put that back. Or, walking out the door and doing what I need to do to get the merchandise back. But I can understand how, younger girls who are
yeah,
working are not going to have the confidence to do that.
yeah,
Um, Essentially, I just tell them to call me or text me if they realize something is missing or if they see it happen. Because then I can quickly go back into the camera system, like you mentioned, and hopefully track them down.
yeah,
Um, I would say I don't tell my customers to like follow people out the door because I think there's some legal issues with that, unfortunately.
yeah. I think there is. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but yeah,
But a lot of the stuff that does get stolen has security tags on it now. The past 2 years, we've had a security system in the store. So if you pick up a bracelet that has a sensor on it and you go towards the door, it sets off this big alarm and it deters you from walking further out the door.
yeah,
I found over the years that the items that were being stolen were the small items: sunglasses, bracelets, bikinis, little tank tops. And unfortunately, it's pretty much always young girls. So
that's
you
crazy.
just have to kind of know what to look for
Yeah,
and keep your eyes on those small items. I think we had maybe a couple t-shirts and hats walk out the door this summer because randomly I'll find gaps in the inventory and just be like, huh? How
yeah,
did that happen?
yeah,
And you just have to chalk it up to, okay, maybe somebody took it, maybe it walked out the door, and you just kind of have to chalk it up to that,
yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah, for sure. Like, because unfortunately, there's good people and bad people.
You can't always see everything. My counter space is set up in the middle of the store, so I'm constantly spinning around and looking at everything, and I have a monitor that I'm looking at too. But every now and then I'm checking someone out and people are coming in and out the door and there's one person working. It's hard. You've got to just make sure that that's why I like to greet people when they come into the store. I
Yeah,
think greeting people and saying goodbye to people makes your presence known.
sure.
I think that people who shoplift are people who are not confident and people who don't want to engage and talk to you. So I do like to engage with my customers and say, hey, what are you guys shopping for today? Or where are you from? And,
Yeah.
we knock on wood, we didn't have any shoplifting incidences this past summer that we know of. Um, so I hate to say it like that, but,
Yeah.
little things do go missing every now and then,
Yeah. Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah. So you can't stop everything, Hmm.
I was even in this is crazy. I was even in Home Goods the other day buying a new water bottle, and a bunch of the water bottles had the straws taken off of the package. You could see that it was just ripped off. So
Yeah.
people steal anything.
Yeah. I mean, I guess when it comes to theft, like, yeah, people don't discriminate,
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
Interesting. All right. So, Lauren, we've had a, great opportunity, in this episode to really kind of deep dive into your mindset of being a manager. And I love the fact that you were open to sharing about, situations or, circumstances that happen. It's kind of shaped you to where you are now. And guys, like I said, if you ever go to the Dewey Beach area, definitely check out the surf shop. And speaking of that, Lauren, what's before we close out, what's next for you? Because I know you said you're a very kind of in the moment type person, but I also know that you're goal driven. So, like, what's next for Lauren Kelley and what's next for the surf shop? I know we're in the off season now, but is there any exciting, works in the development?
So personally, in the off season, I slow down working at the surf shop significantly. I supplement my time and income with dog sitting and house sitting. I have quite a few lengthy gigs set up for the next couple months. So that's what I will be busy doing. The surf shop, however, we will be open until about Christmas time. We did just put in a big old order for sweatshirts and sweatpants and a bunch of fun stuff for the
Awesome.
next couple weeks. So we're not going anywhere anytime soon.
Mhm.
And then we shut down from like January to March and reopen like in that springtime area.
Yep. Yeah. And how can people find you?
I am on, wait, how can we find the surf shop or me?
Both, either or, like, because talk
So
about the surf shop. Yeah, yeah.
Dewey Beach Surf Shop, we can be found online at deweybeachsurfshop.com. That's our website. We are on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Pinterest. I think we're on like everything that you could be on, either Dewey Beach Surf Shop or Dewey Beach Surf Shop 302. And
Nice.
then me personally, you can find me on Instagram, Laurie Liz Kelly, or just all over the Dewey Beach Surf Shop page. I'm always there.
Yep, and I'll share all those links that you just mentioned in the caption, so anyone
Cool.
watching this can check them out on social media. Like, yeah, of course, give them a follow too. All right, Lauren, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. Do
Thank
you
you
have
so much.
any?
This has been great.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have any last minute shout outs or anyone that you want to give credit to right now?
Let's see. I mean, I want to give credit to Tyler. He has worked with me over the years and helped me get to where I am now at the surf shop. And I also would love to thank our friend Jesse, who has been a huge help over the years. I became close with him after Tyler's accident. He is one of our, or was one of our merchandise providers. And now he's just a really good friend that provides a lot of support for us in the surf shop. And, you know, I can spin ideas and off of him since he has the experience in the industry that I don't have. So I would like to thank my friend Jesse.
Awesome. And we as a community, Lauren, yeah, we want to thank you for everything that you do, for not just Dewey Beach, but for the surf shop as well.
Thank you. Of
You're welcome. Lauren, thank you so much for joining us today, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day.
course, you too.
Thank you.